you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hello, it's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. As one of the earliest things that makes it 16 years and nearly 3,000 episodes of the Chris Voss Show. We are the oldest podcast, still broadcasting on a daily basis, bringing you shows each and every day of all the most amazing minds and people and stories and journeys in the world. So help support us sticking around. Otherwise, they're gonna fire me and put someone who's an AI bot in here, and they're not as funny as I am. At least that last time I checked. Anyway, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTok. Crazy places on the internet. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. Today's featured author is brought to you by Majestic Authors Media, specializing in strategic marketing and publishing to help authors reach their ideal audience and maximize their book success, turning powerful messages into global impact, one story at a time. Today, amazing young lady on the show, we're going to be talking about her book called Children of Light by pen name C.B. Anslie. And she joins us on the show under her real name, Carol Baldwin, and we're going to get into it with her and find out the deets on her amazing books. She began writing and her entire career and tutored writing at community college for 23 years. Writing has always been her passion because of the craft of storytelling, which adds nuance to daily life in totally unanticipated ways. Her story forms a change of interconnected fates of people tied together by their familiar abilities. Children of Light reveals the Arisons family's ancestral secrets and mystic visions connected with the historic events of Masada. Welcome to the show. How are you, Carol?
Good. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you as well. Give us your .coms. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
cbansley.com.
So give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside your new book?
It's about a young girl who is growing into her abilities as a psychic, and she finds it's a family thing. It's a connection between all the women in her family, and it goes back in time, and they all share some similar visions. So that's what it's about.
Now I notice on the web there's several different variations. There's a 3rd edition and 4th edition. Which is the latest? The one in April 2025, 4th edition?
Yes, the 4th edition. Yeah.
Now, a rabbi with a secret will surrender his life in an incomprehensible battle against evil, while his friend, a priest with dark past, wrestles personal demons. That sounds pretty interesting. Gets into some of the... And the mystery of Masada. Now, what is Masada? Is that a Jewish reference?
Yes, Masada was a Jewish fortress. It was the last group of holdouts during the Roman takeover. And it was a sect where they decided rather than surrender, they would commit suicide, a mass suicide. Wow. I think one of the earliest recorded mass suicides.
Now, so is this set in that time era?
No, there are some flashbacks of the visions that take place in that time.
Okay.
But the story takes place in present day.
Okay. So some of this is mysteries and stuff that you're seeing some different things maybe that got passed down through their family, maybe?
Yes, through the vision.
Now, do they have special powers, like maybe not, or maybe some like the X-Men or something like that? Is that the visions that they have, or the powers they have, or how does the powers work?
They're psychic. Some of them can see events that might happen or might have happened. Some just are able to just connect with each other like this.
Oh wow! So they can teleconnect, maybe.
Yeah, they teleconnect with family members, yes.
So that might get annoying after a while if you could teleconnect with your family, because you're like, hey, I don't want to talk to you, bro.
No,
He's
it's
calling
not
you on the
that,
teleconnect line.
it's not quite that elaborate. They can only
Okay.
connect in terms of seeing these visions. They
Okay.
join their minds and they see these visions together.
They see them together. That's got to be even wilder.
Often, yes. Yeah.
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 You're like,
So
dude, did you
it
go to
is.
Taco Bell last night? Because your visions are weird, man. You go to Taco Bell and you have those weird dreams the next morning or night or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're having those visions from the Alien movie where the thing's coming out of your stomach. And no. So how did you get the idea behind this book? Is this your first book you've ever written?
This is the first book I ever wrote. Yes. I got it because my mother displayed some psychic abilities back when I was a kid growing up. My sisters and my brother and I all realized that she had to have some psychic abilities. She would never admitted that. But also because I started thinking about, how when you drop a pebble into a pond, there are ripples and those spread out throughout the pond. And I thought, well, what would happen if that pebble and that pond were like time, and an event in time drops into the pool and just spreads out? What would that look like? So that's how I came up with this. I thought maybe this is what it would look like.
Maybe a generational pool for the family, or
but through time, how these things, how your actions spread through time.
Yeah,
they don't just end.
Yeah, they don't operate in a bubble, as it were, or in a vacuum. It's interesting to me. I remember one time I had a friend of mine. He explained chaos theory to me, that if a butterfly waves its wings over in China, we eventually feel it. The other day I was watching, what was it? It's that science gentleman who's really smart at science, and he's always talking about science stuff. Anyway, he was talking about how every time we breathe in, we're breathing in all the molecules from everyone who's ever existed, ever. And then we breathe out, and so we're sharing it all. So if that's not disturbing enough to think about, I don't know what is, but but I started wearing a condom over my mouth. That's all I'm saying. But really, you're breathing in the air that everyone has breathed in and out from the eternity of time. So, as far as I know, I'm breathing, I don't know, George Washington's air or something. But it's creepy to think about. It makes you want to wash your hands about 50 times. Now, with Children of Light, is this a series book? I know you have another book we're going to talk about called Instrument of Justice.
Yeah, it is not quite like your traditional series. The two books are really standalone because they're completely different stories, but there are some characters that are shared between the books. So they do have some connection with each other, but I wouldn't call it exactly a sequel because it's not a continuation of the same story.
Just the same characters, maybe a split
just a few characters. Yes.
Split off then.
Yes.
And what was the aha moment for you when you light one on? You're like, I need to write a book about this. You thought about the ripples in the water thing and stuff. And what was the turning point that finally kicked you over? Because a lot of people write books or want to write books, and they listen to the show trying to figure out how to write books better or write a book. And sometimes there's that moment that just puts that fire under you.
I'm not really sure what the moment was. I was sitting in front of my computer and I just started writing. It felt like an energy just moving through me. It was a story that had to be told, and I needed to write it down. And then it just went from there, and it just flowed. So I know that some writers may have experienced the same sort of thing. It's like just an electrical kind of pulse that just comes out.
Did the character stalk you and bug you to write the book, or did you have to form them on your own and they didn't stalk you?
No, it's funny, but when I was writing it, it's like I was seeing seeing the scenes visually, like it was playing out in my mind, and I was just writing down what I saw. It was very intense. It wasn't like I sat for hours and plotted and planned. I wrote chapter by chapter, but each chapter just flowed.
No, in the book, it's designed to give you a feeling of deeply spiritual, emotional, and cinematic tell all at once. And how did you maintain that sort of emotional content as you wrote and put things to paper?
I put myself into each character as I really felt like I was the character as I was writing about them and feeling what they were feeling. So I guess that's how I did it. I imagined that I was them.
Yeah. How did you know you were going to be good at writing? Did you have experience in your life, or maybe you're writing for things and it just kind of worked into your field? Or
I had always written, I mean, all my career. And I had taught writing, and I had dabbled with some short stories and things, but I had never tried to write a book. So it just came out.
Wow.
This was, I think, a natural progression.
Now, the relationship between Rabbi Saul and Father John in your book is pretty powerful. Was it important for you, or why was it important for you to explore two different faith perspectives? You got the Jewish faith, and you got the is it Catholic or is it
Christian?
Christian
faith. He's Catholic, yeah.
So why was it important to have those two different faith perspectives side by side in the book?
The book is about it refers back to Masada, so I assumed that Jewish faith was involved. But the tradition I'm more familiar with is Christian, but both have played a major part in my life. I have friends who are Jewish. I have a brother-in-law who's Jewish. My father had a very close friend who was a rabbi who was Jewish, obviously, and then of course my father was a minister.
Really?
My father was a Lutheran pastor for years, and my sister is an Episcopal priest.
Wow. So that may have had some influence you on the storytelling of your book and some of the scenarios and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, one of the most haunting lines in the book is "Remember me." What does remembrance symbolize in the book?
Our memory, these visions are basically visual memories of what happened at Masada, and these shared visions. And I think it's important that we do remember. Much of our memory is visual. It's what we saw and what we experienced. So a lot of it is very visual. And I think when you want something to get passed down to the next generation, you tell them it's important. You remember this. So that was the message, to pass it down.
Yeah. The one thing man can learn from his history is that man never learns from his history. Everybody, we go round and round. So you got to learn from your history, folks, or else you're doomed to repeat it again. And
yes.
Learn from your mistakes, especially when it comes to history. Let's see, what else do we have on deck that I was going to ask you? The story wrestles with destiny versus choice. Do you personally believe people are called towards certain paths in life? I grew up with that in religion, where people were like, God knows what you're going to do. And I'm like, why'd he send me here then if he knew what I was going to do? We're just acting out his thing. And then my question was always like, so if Judas was made to betray Christ, isn't he damned to go to hell? And that seems a little unfair. Shouldn't he get at least an acting part or a residual check or something? So talk to us about that.
That's a tough one.
It's a tough call, man. Judas is, hey, man, you knew I was going to betray the dude and I still go to hell? What the hell?
Had a rough one.
Had a rough one, man. He got set up for the gig. Is he in hell? We'll have to figure that out later. That's for another show. So tell us about this destiny versus choice thing.
I think certain events are destined to happen. Does that mean that everything I do is predestined? I'm not sure. It's an open question. I think that we do have choices, and so in some sense, it can't be totally predestined if we have a choice. But I do think that certain events are predestined. Certain things will have to happen to make other things happen. So I look at it a little bit from both angles, I think. I'm not convinced either way.
So you play them out in the book and give the scenarios and let them roll with whatever may come their way.
Yeah, essentially.
Right. Sounds fair. And that's the great thing about playing with this sort of stories and everything. Now, I noticed there's one book that's here on Amazon that's blue, maybe the first edition, as I mentioned before, because I want to make sure people buy the right book, the fourth edition book. Is there updates or something in the fourth edition? Tell us about why there's a fourth edition and why it's important to make sure you buy that one.
When I first wrote this book, I self-published and I used one publisher and they went out of business. And then I had to do a second edition, and that didn't work out either. And so the fourth edition I finally published under my own name and with no one else tagging along. So that's how that happened. You have to be careful in the publishing industry. I have learned the hard way.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people on the show that they've had to do what you do because the company's gone out of business or they're not paying them their reviews. It's a mess.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And you never know. It was my first learning experience, but Children of Light has the blue book that you're talking about online is probably Instrument of Justice. That background, that cover is blue. So the Children of Light cover is white or cream colored.
Okay. This is purple, actually. It's Children of Light, red and orange.
Oh, that was the very first time I
2007.
published it. Yeah, that was the very first time. And that's an old, out of date. It shouldn't be up there anyway.
Yeah, it's still for sale, $7.99. But you want to should get the updated version. Now, Instrument of Justice does have a blue cover. There's a guy in the shadows and maybe a forest or trees there on the cover. And talk to us about what's inside that book.
This is a different character, and he has different abilities, and he some of those abilities disturb himself, and he doesn't want people to know. And it takes him a while to learn what his calling in life is or what his purpose in life is. And it involves some of this ability. And eventually he has to make moral choices and do what he feels is the just and the right thing to do, but it seems extreme. So it comes from a very different set of characters. There is an overlap between one of the characters, Skylar. She is in Children of Light, is the aunt, and in this book, some of what happened in her life appears in some of his visions, so it interplays there. And I think it's interesting because it fills out some of the characters from the first book. You get another look at them, but it also adds to the story in this book. It makes it more dynamic.
And with the characters that you have in the book, the scenes involving these shared visions, the sight, are pretty vivid. How did you develop the mythology behind those abilities?
As I said, I visualize the scenes, the chapters scene by scene, and I wrote down what I was seeing. It was in my mind. It was not, but I didn't. I literally wrote down what I was seeing. There was no planning or plotting of any kind. It was just, it came out there. This story wanted to be told, and I was just more of a vehicle through which it could be told.
Yeah. Would you say Children of Light is ultimately more about redemption than supernatural mystery?
I think it's about supernatural mystery, but redemption is very strong in there as well. So it is both about redemption and mystery.
Oh.
I think there's room for both of them in there, because Father John's character is the character that most develops throughout that story. And he's the one who needs the most redemption. Oh. And he does find redemption.
Yeah. And the novel, you balance darkness with hope in a compelling way. Was that contrast intentional that you wanted to tell through the beginning?
Yeah, I always like stories that offer some hope. And I think that Children of Light, while there is a darker side to it, I think it emphasizes the hope and the redemption that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I think
Phoenix rise from the ashes.
Yeah.
Hopefully evil doesn't always win in the end.
that time does not time heals, but time brings out maybe some positive to what we see as negative.
It's time, I suppose, tells everything in a long enough timeline. A lot of supernatural thrillers rely on horror, but you focus on a lot of emotional and spiritual conflict. Why do you choose that direction as opposed to, say, directly horror?
That was accidental. I wanted to draw my audience in and to start it out describing it like a horror scene and setting up a horror story. And then I switched it to relationship based, which was totally different. And I didn't do it on purpose. It just sort of came out that way. But once I saw that, I thought, gee, that works. So that works.
Who are some of the, as you were growing up or when you first maybe started writing, who were some of the books that you were reading that influenced you, maybe authors or book titles that you read that kind of inspired you and made you want to write in this genre?
There was a book that I read once. It's called Other People's Worlds. And it was just telling a story about a woman, but it told it from different perspectives. And I thought that was so interesting. So I guess in this, I was trying to tell stories from different perspectives. That was one. I can't really think of others off the top of my head, but that one I know had a strong impact because of the way the story was told.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. And so did you ever aspire to be a writer, or this just popped right down in your lap? You wrote it out and you were good to go?
I've always written, and I knew I was pretty good at it. I had these ideas if I was ever going to write a novel and started thinking about it. And I thought, why don't I just do this? And then eventually I'll figure out what to do with it. And that's sort of what happened. But was I planning ever to be a fiction author? Never.
Wow.
Never.
There you go.
It was not my plan, but it happened. So I might as well go with it.
Do you have any future stuff you're working on, further books to come out, or plans on maybe the series here, et cetera, et cetera?
I do have some story ideas, but as I said before, this Children of Light and Instrument of Justice were stories that apparently needed to be told. And I really felt it was almost like an inspiration to write them. I have not felt that yet. When the spirit moves me, I think I'll write another story, another book. But I do have a couple of ideas, but I have not felt that inspiration yet. Oh. So I'm waiting, and I'm sure it will come. I'm just not sure when.
Oh. Sometimes you just got to wait for that magic to happen, right? That inspiration to fall into your lap. And there's sometimes where you try and write and you can't push it, but there's just what would you call it? There's just that inspiration that drops to the sky in one moment. You just go, hey, I got to write this down, and then suddenly it consumes you and takes over, and then it won't leave you alone.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly like these books were.
Yep, so, and then you put a book out on it and all that good stuff. So what advice would you give to aspiring writers, people that want to potentially become an author like yourself and put out their own books?
Keep writing.
Keep writing.
Keep writing. Just even if you don't think you're writing anything good, just keep writing. Eventually you'll get better.
Yeah. Plus there's always editing.
Yeah, but don't give up. Don't give up. That's, I think, what I saw students do out of frustration or whatever. They just give up. Don't give up. You can always get better, and you always will if you work at it.
Yeah. And it's kind of like just anything of value in life. The more work you put into it, the more effort you put into it, the more you develop your skill, you hone your craft, you get better. And I remember when I was writing my book with a group of folks that we were in what they call accountability group. And so we all try and write at least an hour a day. And I remember I first started writing and it was hard to write an hour a day. It was hard to write for 10 minutes. And I just kept on writing and doing my little hour a day. And then the story started building out. And once you kind of saw the framework, you kind of went, oh, this is interesting. And a lot of the editing that you do, you do at the end. So I would just write everything down. And the people who were highly trying to edit every word or sentence they made. They never finished the project and got their books out because they were just, I don't know if they got, they kept writing the first line of the book over 50,000 times. It was the best of times, the worst of times. They were trying to come up with something like that. And I'm just just puke it out on the page and then edit it later. And once you kind of see it all out there, then you can start moving around in pieces. You go, oh, this part goes here, and oh, this can kind of go over there, and oh, hey, this fills in better here, and then other parts of the story come to you, and it's kind of like a big puzzle, maybe.
I think a lot of people think that they have to sit down and write from beginning to end, but you don't. I didn't write that way. I wrote one chapter at a time, but I moved the chapters around a dozen times. Yeah. So I never just sat and wrote the story from beginning to end in one session. It just didn't happen.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Now, with the book, beneath all the mystery and spiritual intrigue, it seems very human. And what do you hope readers walk away thinking or feeling after they finish the book?
I hope that some people who have been rather closed-minded about psychic phenomena and psychics in general will be a little more open to it. They might see it as more of an evolutionary type thing, but also that people maybe be a little more mindful about their actions. Actions are powerful, and they don't just go away. They continue on in some form. They affect the future. They affect people. And I think that we often forget that, and we aren't as mindful about what we do as we ought to be.
Yeah. Now, any future events or anything you have on your website, any consulting, coaching, or anything like that you do we want to promote?
Not at the moment. No.
They can follow you on your website and stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm pretty new at this.
You're heading right down the road, and you've got the books. In your third book, do you anticipate maybe using the same characters, maybe continuing on with the story formats?
A third book would be a different story, but it might use some of the same characters. It might. I think the connection between the stories would have to be the characters.
Yeah. Most definitely. Some people do these, they have these trees branches of stories, and they have characters that spin off into other series, and they have 3 or 4 series sometimes going at the same time with different lead characters, and they break off and go on their own series tangents. You do a lot of things with where you're at right now.
Yeah. They have potential for sure.
Yeah. What do you find is the most fulfilling about being an author?
The creativity. It just allows you to really breathe and play, just mental play.
Yeah. The creativity part, just making something out of nothing. It's creativity, just like you would, I don't know, weave cloth or build something. You're building something, and it just comes out of your mind. And it's just so amazing. You're just like, wow, the stories we share and tell each other. And it's great. We learn from each other, even in fictional formats. Novels and stuff teach us human behavior and history and different lessons of life. So as we go out, give people a final pitch out to pick up your books, where they can find you on the internet, the .coms and all that good stuff.
My books are available on my website, cbanslie.com, and they're also available on Amazon under my pen name. So that's where you can get them.
Make sure you get the 4th edition too, right?
Yes.
So you want to take and get that one. So thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, Carol. It's been wonderful to have you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it. It's been fun.
Thank you. And order up her book, folks, wherever fine books are sold. Children of Light, out April 7th, 2025, the 4th edition by C.B. Anslie, her pen's name. And check out other book as well. Thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTok, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.